Welcome back to Living Local. We're out and about here at Bishop Hill Bakery and Eatery, located in a former Swedish colony here in Bishop Hill, Illinois. Today we're exploring its made-from-scratch baked goods that highlight Swedish culture. I'm joined by Tom Campbell. He is the owner and baker here at Bishop Hill Bakery and Eatery. Tom, it is so great to finally be here in Bishop Hill and be in your bakery.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun coming on the show over in the studio, and we're just thrilled that you guys can come out today.
Yeah, now I'm on your turf. So before we get to the bakery and eatery, what is the rich history behind Bishop Hill?
Well, the quick version is that you had a group of Swedish immigrants that came here in 1846. There were a couple different waves, but you know, they had some pretty tough times early on, but real quick they were able to branch out to some of the surrounding communities and kind of build most of what you can still see here today.
Yeah, so much of the history in Bishop Hill is still preserved today. Just driving around this community, it is just incredible to see. Okay, now for the bakery and eatery, what is the history behind that?
Well, so I was working for Sarah Lee up in Madison, Wisconsin about 15 years ago. And my folks had lived in Bishop Hill for a couple years. Found out that this building that we're in right now was coming up for sale. And it's kind of one of those life choice things. What are you going to do? Keep working for Sarah Lee or go out on your own and do something different? And I had to think about what was I going to regret not doing more. And I'm glad I made the choice I did. So.
Now, Tom, when people walk into the bakery and eatery, can you describe what they will see, the atmosphere that will greet them?
Yeah. Well, so across the street is where the restaurant is, and that's where we sell all of our baked goods and you eat lunch. Over here is where all the magic happens first, early in the morning where we're baking. So when you walk in, you're going to see our sweet goods case. Right around the corner is our pantry where we have all of our breads and our rusks and our cookies and a whole lot more. And you're going to be smelling those baked goods. You're going to be smelling what's cooking for lunch, soups, specials, all sorts of stuff.
The smell that overwhelms you when you come in is so incredibly delightful. It really is a testament to the freshness and the quality of handmade from scratch goods. Now, speaking of those, what do you have on your bakery menu?
Well, so I kind of specialize in breads. That's my favorite thing to do. And of course, we serve homemade sandwiches. And so I've got 4 different kinds of breads that I do for the sandwiches. I do a couple others that are more like table breads or sweet breads. And that's just, and from there it branches out into some of the sweet goods and the desserts that we have. We have homemade pies, and we've got a lot of cookies, we've got a lot of pastries, cinnamon rolls, and then we specialize as well in russ, or skorpa as it is in Swedish, which rusks are basically any twice baked bread. So what I do here, and I have my rusk loaves, my Swedish almond rusk loaves right here, and so what I do is I bake these once. It's a short bread, so there's a lot of butter. There's almond oil in it and some sliced almonds, and it's very sweet. It's really great. And then what I do is I'm going to cut them into thick slices, put them back in the oven at a lower temperature to dry them out. And traditionally in Scandinavia, you would dunk these in your coffee, soften them back up.
Oh my goodness, that sounds amazing. Yeah. In addition to, what was these loaves called again?
So rusks is kind of what here in the U.S. we would call them. In Sweden they call them skorpa.
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 All right, skorpa, rusk bread here. In addition to this, you're also going to show us some cookies. Can you describe those? Well,
so one of the things that I make is it's called pepperkakor, which is ginger molasses cookies. Pepperkakor would be spice, cake, or cookie. That's a Swedish word for it. And so I'm going to be dropping some of those a little bit later and we'll bake them up. And those are my number one thing that I love smelling coming out of the oven.
Oh, I cannot wait. Tom, when you look at the different Swedish breads and bakery items that you make, how do you think that helps keep the historic nature of Bishop Hill alive?
Well, I think one thing that's great about Bishop Hill is you have a lot of folks here that are always demonstrating whether traditional, you know, Swedish or early American activities, crafts, or just their own art. Some of it is you know, contemporary, and so I think Bishop Hill has a long history of handmade goodness, if you will. And you know, I think in a world that has become more automated over the decades, folks really appreciate coming to a place where people still do the things with their hands.
You know, I think I forgot what homemade bread smelled like coming in when we walked in here. I was just like, Wow, it just took me to a whole different place. Now, when people come to Bishop Hill, of course, they can stop in and get lunch at Bishop Hill Eatery and Bakery. What else can they do here in Bishop Hill? Well,
so we have a lot of museums that trace the history of Bishop Hill and going all the way back to where the immigrants came from in Sweden. There are a lot of shops in town that feature either imported Scandinavian things or, like I was mentioning, handmade items, things that people made. We've got a great potter in town. Just a lot of great variety of stuff. In addition to that stuff here is here every day. The festivals that we have throughout the year are a lot of fun, and there's extra things going on at those times. There's music, there's other demonstrations, or over in the park, like we have a Chautauqua that Brian Fox Ellis, who I know has been on the program before, he sets up a whole program of historical figures that are usually based around a theme. So when you come to Bishop Hill, you're going to think you're kind of stepping back in time a little bit, and you're going to have a pretty good variety of things to do, so you can really make a day of it.
Absolutely. Tom, when you kind of reflect on your time here in Bishop Hill and look forward to the future, what keeps you motivated to keep being the bread magician here?
Well, you know, I'd say baking to me is kind of a magic in a way, you know, particularly bread baking, because with yeast, you're dealing with something that's alive, you know, and you have to take care of it, you know. And you know, to go from the raw ingredients to something that somebody is going to take home or they're going to give as a gift, to me that's pretty special. But really one of the things over the years that has motivated me are the customers that come back in, the people that have come in, you know, week after week after week for now 15 years. I can think back to a girl that is now in college that started coming to eat here when she was 5 years old. And she put potato chips on her sandwich that we would make for her. And it was one of those things, and even now when she comes back home from college and she visits, I'm like, hey, here you are, how you doing, how's college going? And you know, to have that memory of her being 5 years old and asking for potato chips on her sandwich, it was pretty fun, and you kind of feel a little bit like you have an extended family. And that's something that I know when I think about that other road I could have gone down, staying at Sara Lee, which was a great place to work.
Sure.
You don't get that personal interaction in the same way that you do in a place like this.
Definitely. It is a very unique experience that can certainly be enjoyed here at Bishop Hill. So if people are stopping by during the winter time, what are your winter hours?
So what we're going to do here is we go right up through the beginning of Christmas. The 22nd will be our last day open. We get back open on January 9th. We kind of tighten up our hours a little bit because, you know, we are kind of out here in a small town rural area, and sometimes it's a little bit much for some folks to get out. But we are going to be open Thursdays through Sundays, 11 to 2, and that'll be for January and February. We'll get back to our regular hours in March, Wednesday through Sunday. And go from there and face another great year.
Fantastic. Well, Tom, thanks again so much for letting us stop by here.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
All right, you guys, if you would like some more information, you can find Bishop Hill Bakery and Eatery on Facebook. More Living Local continues after this break.